to another episode of Transform Perspective with Kyra Weathersby. This episode, I'm probably going to sound a bit stuffy. I may sneeze a few times because I'm a little bit under the weather. So, after this, I'm about to go get me some tea, lay down, and do nothing for the rest of the day because it's rainy, it's cold, and it's just, sweater weather. It's one of those type of days. So, I'm here though. You're here, and I want to say thank you for being here because I really appreciate it. Recently, I always start with recently because usually everything that I'm talking about is recent or reoccurring. I just want to talk about it. I feel like recently, throughout the past couple years, life in general, but really the past couple years, loss has been something that's shown up in my life in many different ways. I feel like I've experienced and gone through a lot of loss in many different ways. And loss can look different for everyone. When you're going through loss, this could be a loss of a job, a loss of a family member, a loss of a relationship, a loss of a friendship. Relationships could be friends, family, romantic. However, you could lose your way of life. How you see things, your belief systems. You could just go through a lot of loss, and I feel like when it comes to loss, yes, you're losing something, but you're also gaining a new perspective. You're gaining some type of change and some type of transformation. And it can be very dark, very scary, and very weird. And that's something that I've really seen is every time that I've experienced some type of loss, it's always just felt so weird and so dark. And it is not easy to maneuver through because usually when you're going through loss, it kind of hits you like a box of rocks and it's very unexpected. And you don't always feel like you're going to ever come back from it, or be able to adapt and readjust to this new way of life or new way of being. But you're kind of put in a situation where you have to, because it's not in your control, it's nothing you can do, and you can either push forward or not. And yeah, it's a really scary thing sometimes because not everybody is capable of pushing through and getting through those changes or getting through those losses and just life in general. But if you're able to, which I definitely know everybody has the potential to and can, it just doesn't mean that it's easy. But if you're able to, I feel like you just, you come out on the other end and you're changed and you transform. But I feel like there's some learning and purpose in that. And you definitely learn and grow from it. And, you just keep going. You keep learning. And yeah, it's just weird. I feel like every time you go through a change or you experience some type of loss in your life, it's kind of just like, life is weird. It almost feels like the more that you go through, the more that you go through stuff and go through change and experience loss, life gets less and less real. It seems less and less real, For me personally, it kind of feels like you're just like going through the motions and it's like almost like you're in like a dream or a video game. It's just like, what even is this, And it can leave you in a very dark space or it can be very uplifting, You feel a little bit more free and more like you can play and don't have to take things so seriously. Because it's temporary. And yes, it's like, oh, it's temporary. Like, enjoy this moment, be here, really be grateful and take it in because, things change like this and all of this is temporary. You being here is temporary. This life is temporary, And then on the other hand, it's like really depressing to realize, oh my goodness, okay, all of this is temporary. Even I'm temporary. One day you may be here, the next day you may not be. One minute your life may look one way, the next minute it could look totally different. And so life is forever changing, we're forever changing, and it can be very dark, but it could also be very light, and it's just very weird because you can look at it as dark and light and a positive or a negative, but when you take that away, it just is. And it's like you don't really have control over it. You just kind of going through the motions. But it made me kind of sit back and reevaluate, like, how I look at life and how I look at myself and what this is all about. Like, what is the purpose? Because when you go through loss or some type of change, especially for myself, the question of, okay, well, what is the point of all of this? Like, who am I? What is this? Like, because it gets so weird. It's just like, dang, like, what am I even doing here? Or at least that's how it was for me. And it got to a point where I started looking at, okay, well, what is the purpose of all of this? What is my purpose? What is purpose? I don't know. Because before, maybe like 5 years ago, if you asked me what my purpose was or what purpose was about, I probably would have started talking about, like what I do. Your purpose is your passion, your career, what you're good at, what you're meant to do in life. But now, if you ask me about purpose, I'm just like, it's not those things. It's not your job. It's not your relationships with other people. Like your friends and family. It's not where you live. It's not how old you are. It's not your culture. It's not your language. It's not donating to an organization. Like, your purpose is you. Your purpose is this experience. Your purpose is now. It's you existing and being here. Before having that mindset that your purpose is to run a business or to travel the world or to start an organization or to, basing it off of these identities, it just didn't feel like right. It didn't feel like that was purpose, because I would always question and be like, okay, well, let's say you think your purpose is a career. What if you get into that career and then you lose that job? Or what if you get into it and you're not really fulfilled by it? Or what if you stay in that career, you get old, and then, you just retire and you're no longer working that job? Does that mean that you've lost your purpose or you're not in your purpose? So it's kind of weird, because it's like, if that was your purpose, then when you stop doing that thing, or when you are no longer, how do you say it? I guess when you're no longer doing it, or if you never accomplish that, does that mean that, like, you no longer have purpose? No. But some people in life, for example, like when you do retire, some people do feel like, okay, well, what is the point of me being here anymore? Like, I'm not doing that job, or I'm not, you may move, you may be like, okay, well, I'm not living in that place anymore. Or maybe your purpose is you're like raising a family or something, or you're traveling with your friends, whatever the case may be. It's like, when you stop doing that thing that you think is purpose, I think you start to really realize and, understand what your purpose truly is. And I found personally, and I'm still learning, that purpose isn't this identity or something that you accomplish or something that you do. It's really who you are. And as you're going through life, as you're experiencing these losses and these changes, it's all a part of purpose, which is you. It's your experience here. We are, getting to experience what it's like to be a human, what it's like to be on this planet, what it's like here, like what it's like to be here together, as a humanity. And that's the purpose. You just existing. You get to experience emotions. You get to experience thoughts and smells and other people. And when you're no longer here, you're not experiencing those human things, because your body's no longer functioning anymore. You're not in the body. You're not the body. So while you are here experiencing your body, your life, the people around you, nature, the planet, animals, it's like, that's the purpose, is to experience, is to be you. And I feel like that helps a lot to kind of just be grounded again and just go with the flow. It helps, because when you make someone or something outside of yourself your purpose, you're forever running away from yourself. You're forever running away from knowing the truth of purpose, from knowing who you really are. And I feel like it's just so important and so significant because when you begin to learn about yourself and learn your truth and learn what your real purpose is, um, you begin to see and know and remember who you are. And for me, I feel like that's the same as remembering, knowing, and getting to know God is getting to know you. Um, and so it is a very dark, scary, weird thing, but also very beautiful and feels pretty nice to know that you could take all those expectations away, all those, I need to do this and be this and go here and do this. And it's just like everything that happens in my life is on purpose. I think Kyle C said that. And I was like, oh my goodness, that is so true. Everything you experience, everything you do, everything that happens is on purpose. And it could be really tough and difficult, and we could take ourselves in these constant, I was going to say spirals, but circle really, and get stuck when we feel like there is a explanation or a reasoning for things. I feel like things happen just because they happen. And a lot of times we want an answer. We want an explanation for why things are the way they are, but they just are. And there's freedom in that. There's true purpose in that. I feel like a lot of the things that we want answers to, our brain cannot really comprehend it. Maybe our hearts can, and we know on a deeper level, but on the surface level, when we just stay stuck in our minds with that, it's kind of like we can't really comprehend what we are and what everything is when we are kind of in our head. So, yeah, it's weird. And the more I go through life and as I've experienced loss and change in my life, I kind of am brought back to that realization more and more that all of this is purpose, that you are purpose, experiencing this life is purpose, you getting a chance to experience you and be in this body and be where you are is the purpose. It's not something you have to achieve. It's not something you have to be. It's not something you have to try to do. It's just something that is. And that doesn't always make sense to the mind because we can't wrap our heads around it. And that's okay. But it is still weird. It is still scary because we want to know so badly. Well, me personally, it's just like, what is this all about? Like, what is the point? But I think at some point when you let go of needing to know, you really find out. And it goes beyond, see, voice crack, and it goes beyond conceptualizing it and trying to make sense of it. Because I think truly the truth of all of this and the purpose of all of it goes beyond words sometimes. You can try to explain it like I'm talking about it, but it even goes beyond that. It goes beyond just words. We just have words of communication to help us try to connect to one another and to ourselves and, express ourselves. And that's a beautiful thing, but you can't always put everything in words. Sometimes you just have to go through it and you just have to experience it. And that's what I've learned from experiencing loss. You truly just go through it. You truly just experience it. And in the midst of it, you awaken to so many profound things. That's not always the case for everybody, but I feel like in my case, or in my life, that has been the case where I come out on the other side with a totally different perspective and way of looking at things. I come out on the other side with a transformed perspective. That's why I call this podcast that, because in the midst of what I was going through, that is exactly what happened. It transformed my perspective, my whole view of myself, my whole view of life. And I wouldn't see things the way I see things. I wouldn't have experienced things, grown how I've grown if I didn't experience that loss and the other losses that kind of came after that. And I'm not saying it's not tough. I'm not saying that once you go through it that it's, all dandy and great and glitzy and glam. Sometimes it feels like that. Sometimes it doesn't. And that's kind of like the thing about life is it's kind of like, You have your really tough, dark, scary, sad moments. Sometimes life feels miserable, and sometimes it feels very beautiful, very profound. And like a roller coaster, you have these up, down moments, and you're kind of just going through the motions. But that's the point. There's no really destination that you're going to, or, point you're trying to reach. The point is the experience. The point is you being here, and existing. That is the purpose. Um, yeah, it sounds very like vast and it's still very unknown, but I feel like the more you learn to be okay with that, the safer it feels. The more you can appreciate life and be grateful for it. And even if you um, are going through a tough time and going through loss and going through change, you can still, you know, make it through one day at a time, one moment at a time. So, yeah, that's what I'm learning as I have experienced loss and change. It does not feel easy, but you make it through and you just continue to live purpose by living and being here. Booyah, mic drop. I just want to share that if you have experienced any loss or any change, whether that be mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, or relationally, your family, friends, loved ones, or just life in general, any loss, any change, feel free to comment that below, how you got through your experience and what you've learned from it. Has your perspective changed because of the things that you've experienced? Has your awareness grown? What has happened in your life? If you want to share that, feel free to do so. It is a safe space. We are all human. We are all evolving and going through things. And it's not always easy to talk about things like this. And a lot of times people don't want to. And that's totally understandable. I just felt like kind of discussing it today because I don't know. Life is so precious, so beautiful, yet so temporary. And it doesn't make sense. And that's weird and that's scary. And when you go through loss, it doesn't really help that. It sometimes makes it way worse, but it's part of purpose and you make it through one way or another. So, yep. Thank you so much for joining me on Transform Perspective. I am going to go make me some hot, delicious chamomile tea and relax because, yeah, my body needs that right now. So, do what your mind, body, and spirit needs right now. Enjoy the rest of this beautiful day and remember that you're never alone. You're never the only one that is experiencing what you're experiencing. And just know that as you go through life that you may walk past people, thousands of people all the time, You may open the door for people, shake their hand or, make eye contact with people and you never know what they're going through. You never know. So make sure that you're showing love and being kind or just being genuine. You don't always have to just be light, bubbly, and positive all the time. Just be real with yourself and be real with other people. Reach out, check on people, see how they're doing, and make sure you check in with yourself and see how you're doing. And just keep being you. That's not something you have to do, it's something that you are. So, yeah, know that life is precious. It's temporary. You being here is temporary. So just continue to keep experiencing even the small things. But I hope you have an amazing day. Remember, it is not about perfection, but committing to expansion and have a transformed perspective.